Hi guys, my name is Chloe Spangler, and I'll be comparing the capture techniques of the eastern Hellbender salamander, also known as Cryptobranchus alleganiensis. So the problem with capture techniques for the Hellbender is that most methods have been deemed inefficient, costly, or harmful, and I will note that I'll mention some techniques have been used in the past and were either successful or unsuccessful. However, this does not mean that they cannot be successful in the future. So our first technique is the use of stream nets and seines. So stream nets are pieces of mesh secured in a stream or river, and they're used to capture organisms flowing from upstream. And then seines function very similarly, but the piece of mesh is weighted on the bottom and it's held up by surveyors. And upstream, there'll be surveyors disrupting rocks, causing the organisms to flow downstream. And this can be done by raking, which agitates rocks in the river bottom. This stirs up the bottom dwelling organisms and causes them to flow into the stream nets and seines. So here on the left is a stream net, and it is secured in the river by these poles. And then on the right is a seine, which is weighted on the bottom and held up by surveyors. So the pros of these techniques is that skin diving is not required, and it has been effective in the past at capturing other salamander species. The cons are that it requires more gear, it requires multiple people, can be time consuming, you're unable to sample deeper waters, and in the past it has not been successful at capturing hellbender. Our next technique is wading and turning. This is pretty self-explanatory. The surveyor wades in shallow water while bending over and lifting rocks and then capturing the target animal by hand. It does not require any tools. However, rakes and dip nets can be used as needed. So you can see here, these surveyors are wading through the water. The water is pretty shallow, and they would bend over and lift these rocks and capture the organisms as they're seen. So the pros of this technique is that skin diving is not required. It can be done alone. There's no tools that are required, although tools can be used. It is quick sampling, very cost efficient, and has been successful at capturing hellbenders in the past. The cons include being ineffective in the past at capturing larvae or small organisms. You're unable to sample deeper waters. The visibility of these organisms can be hindered by sun glare on the water surface, and it can cause physical strain to the surveyor. So our third technique is skin diving, and this is comprised of diving with a mask, snorkel, and fins. And this is used in deeper water where you cannot stand or wade, and you will dive down, lift and turn rocks, and then capture bottom-dwelling organisms by hand. So you can see here on the left, the surveyor is in their mask, fins, and snorkel, and they would dive down to the bottom, lift and turn rocks, and then capture salamanders as they are seen. The pros of this technique is that surface glare isn't a concern. It has been effective in the past at capturing organisms of all age groups and sizes. Turning and lifting rocks is easier underwater, and it has been successful in the past at capturing hellbenders specifically. The cons are that it requires more gear, can be costly because of this, and it can be hazardous due to boat traffic. It cannot be done alone because a dive buddy is needed. It is less efficient in murky water, and it requires more effort and can be exhausting. Our last technique is electroshocking, which is used for aquatic organisms, and it's comprised of sending an electric current through the water, which then temporarily stuns your target organism for you to capture. The pros of this technique is that it has been in the past effective at capturing hellbenders in small streams and shallow water specifically, and it does not require skin diving or wading. So you can do this from the riverbank or from the boat. The cons are that it is costly, it requires multiple people, it can be harmful or even deadly to the organism, and it is very dependent on river currents and proper conductivity. So I would recommend combining the wading and turning technique and the skin diving technique, because then you're able to access shallow and deep water, you're not harming the organism, and the only gear you do need is skin diving gear, which is a lot less costly than the other gear that I mentioned, and you can use other gear like dip nets and rakes if it's available. So these are my references. The Nickerson and Crisco 2003 paper was particularly helpful because they did go over a lot of these techniques. And please feel free to leave any questions and comments below, and thank you for watching.